last 10. Hart tips it in and it's Waller. He spins into the end zone for the touchdown. Watching greatness on one end in LeBron. There's a dude with 35 in white getting it done defensively and then offense taking over the fight. Mama, there goes that man.
They have shared a brilliant championship battle, but the championship can only be won by one, and it's going Dutch in 2021. Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world.
Wait a minute. What day of the week is this?
Monday,
Well, what day specifically?
December 25th.
Holy
it is the
shit.
Christmas special, bitch.
We're doing a Christmas special. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just get right into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's Christmas edition of the Waterboy Experience. I am your host, the jolly son of a gun himself, Davis McLemore. And we're going to do a little Christmas special for you guys here that may be listening. And you can listen to this anytime you want to. I don't care when you listen to it. If you want to go back 8 days before and listen to this during Hanukkah, it's up to you. I don't know when Hanukkah is, but yeah.
It's going on right now.
It's going on right now. Well, happy Hanukkah, happy Boxing Day, and all that different kind of stuff. We're going to very quickly, for this week's Christmas edition, we're going to do a Formula One performance review. We're going to grade each team. We're going to try to grade each racer just about. And we're going to talk about where we think we'll be next year. Do you want to start us off?
God damn it. I hope you had it because I didn't do any research.
Well, there's not much research to do. We just think about what happened this year.
Well, to start us off, I want to put number 20 because we're just going to jump right into it.
Okay, we're going to start from the bottom.
Yeah, we're going to start from the bottom.
Number 20.
At number 20, the absolute worst driver of this Formula One season has got to be Nick DeVries. Actually, we're going to have number 22 because there's been 22 drivers this season.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Nick
right.
DeVries at the bottom of the fucking grid, even beyond the 20 drivers. He's at the 22 mark.
Now, refresh my memory. What team is he on? Alpine?
Well, AlphaTauri, he wishes he was an Alpine.
Okay.
He wishes he was an Alpine. They don't get coverage because they're just in the middle.
That's right. I mean, I get AlphaTauri and Alpine mixed up, so you have to forgive me. But yeah, he's got to go. I don't think there's much to be said about him.
He got booted.
Yeah, he got booted. So I mean, good for him. He's out. So
good for him. God damn.
Good for AlphaTauri.
Easy on the eggnog. God damn it. We just started and you're already drunk as fuck.
It's not even Christmas. It's not even actually Christmas.
Hey, kayfabe, baby. Kayfabe.
This is Christmas.
No, but
Christmas Day.
He has to be the absolute worst driver on the grid. I thought that with all the experience and fuck, it bit me in the ass because I touted him to be a Formula One world champion caliber driver.
That's right. You hyped him up.
I hyped him up.
You jumped on the Nick DeVries train, you little shit.
He's a Formula 2, Formula 3 world champion. He's a Formula E world champion. He's won the Le Mans. He's won the World Endurance Championship. He raced with Toyota. That's why.
Yeah, and my dad won the first ever Mississippi State Geography B. What does that have to do with Formula One? You know it's a completely different game.
It's supposed to translate.
It doesn't translate well.
Fernando Alonso won Le Mans.
That's Fernando Alonso.
He beat Michael Schumacher twice.
You know what you're doing right now? You're translating the lyrics. Have you ever translated the lyrics of I've Got You Babe by Sonny and Cher to Mongolian and then back again? When you translate it from English to Mongolian back to English, the song changes into I Have Your Child. Fun fact. Try it out, kids.
Don't try it out, goddammit. No, it bit me in the ass, and I have to admit, I was wrong. Now Nick DeVries is back racing at Toyota in the World Endurance Championship, so guess good for him. But I was wrong, and he was dead last, so let's go into number 21. Actually, what's your 22?
My 22?
Yeah.
That was Nick DeVries as well.
Okay. So,
I think we're in agreement for that.
Yeah. 21, Kevin Magnussen.
I agree.
He didn't do anything.
And it's tough. It's tough for me to say because I got to admit, I like Kevin Magnussen. I like old Maggie, but it's not just him. It's a shit car.
It's a shit car. It ate its tires up real bad. But even whenever he got a chance at getting points, qualifying would fuck him up. And then by the time the race got halfway through, his tires were done and he was at the back. I blame the car as much as I blame him, but at the end of the day, I just got to give him that 21 spot.
Well, do you think if he was on any other team, would he have success?
He's been in other teams and he hasn't had success.
Then that's your answer.
If I'm right, he started in McLaren.
And look where McLaren's at.
Well, look at where McLaren was in Bahrain.
Yeah.
So not a good place. But number 20, and I have to put him this low because he might have scored a point, but he was the drizzling shits. America's own Logan Sargent.
I love you, Logan Sargent. You're the shining American flag beacon for us.
But
what Checo is to you, Logan Sargent is to me. But he sucks.
But I'm behind the Dutch flag though.
Yeah,
Supermax.
You get what I mean. I'm talking about cultural representation.
But I'm more American than Mexican.
You are.
No,
you decided to be compliant, and that's what we like. So, do you think he would have success on any other team?
Fuck no.
No?
He's shown signs of brilliance, but the problem is he's not consistent enough. Now, granted, this is his first year in Formula One machinery, different than Formula 2 and all the other feeder series. But at the same time, you're looking at what Alex Albon did with Williams. He single-handedly put that team into 7th place in the Constructors' Championship.
Put him in a Red Bull. I think he could do good.
Maybe now, but I'm not sure. Like, he was already in a Red Bull.
You could put an Asian woman in a Red Bull and she'd still be driver champions.
Alex Albon failed in Red Bull and was canned.
But anyway, who's your
21 and 20? Because we got to do
my 21 and 20? I don't want to put Lance Stroll down that low.
I mean, he makes a really good case to being put that low.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to put him there.
21?
In Logan Sargent's spot.
Oh, 20.
Yeah, in 20. Because I don't like Lance Stroll.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. He's essentially, for me, kind of ruined this season for Fernando Alonso. And, you know, I blame him for a lot of things that I maybe shouldn't have. I just don't like the kid.
I think he scored 56 or 76 points throughout the entire year. Meanwhile, Fernando got I think 2 or 4 podiums, something like that, and about 200 and something points.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good reason.
He's holding Aston Martin back.
He is. What about 21?
21, I agree with you.
Kevin Magnussen?
Yeah, K-Mag. He was very quiet this year.
All right, so let's move on to number 19, in which I think is Nico Hülkenberg. I will say this, Nico had a tremendous season and he did the best he could with that car because he would qualify really high. Problem was the fucking car, man. It would drag him down. Like I said with Kevin Magnussen, he would be halfway through the race and the tires would be eaten up. So for me, I don't think he did that great. He's got potential. He's never going to win. He's never going to reach the podium because he's about 200 races in and he hasn't reached the podium. He's come close, but he can't.
Do you think if he was on another team, he would do any better?
No, because we already saw that.
What other team?
Renault, Racing Point.
Okay, put him in a Red Bull. That's the question I'm going to ask from now.
I think he would
put him
be
in a
worse
Red
than
Bull.
Checo.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And that's saying something.
That's saying something. All right, number 18. Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, it was a very disappointing year for Valtteri, coming from
Mercedes. Well, and actually, last year was a really good season with him in Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, but overall, I think this year was a step down from last year. That's crazy to think about. It's been almost 3 years since he left Mercedes. But we all saw the potential that he had with Mercedes, and now it's just not really showing.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people said this, and I agree. Valtteri Bottas is a good driver, but that Mercedes car, that carried him.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of why he was chosen to drive with Mercedes after Nico Rosberg left. Brittany, as his friends call him.
Who, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, and we have to make mention of it on the podcast. He beat Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery. I didn't know that until just yesterday, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, even though you've blown kayfabe. All right, moving up to number 17. I'm going to have to put another Alfa Romeo driver in there. Zhou Guan Yu, or Guan Yu Zhou, however you say his name.
It's interchangeable.
It's interchangeable, but great kid, has potential.
I don't see him as a world champion.
I don't see him as a world champion, but here's the thing. The car, same thing with Valtteri. The car is not great. He did good last year, but he was beaten by Valtteri a lot of times during qualifying and in race positions. And I think the thing that really killed him was Budapest, when he was in P5, P6, somewhere around there. And he just fucking bombed it and ended up breaking too late into the first corner. And he just completely ruined his race.
You think if he was on another team, he would do any better?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Well, he would score more points because better car, but overall, I don't think he's that much better than Valtteri.
Yeah. So let me throw this, potential idea. Let's say we're getting Lance Stroll out of Aston Martin and you put him behind Fernando Alonso. Would that be an upgrade?
Definitely.
Definitely?
Yep.
Okay.
Have you been agreeing with my choices so far?
Yeah, I've been agreeing with most of them. This is the undercard. I haven't paid as much attention to the undercard.
So this is number 16. I have to put him in there. Liam Lawson. For the little amount of time that he got to race, which was Zandvoort, Monza, Singapore, Japan, and Qatar. 5 races. He got 5 races at Red Bull. I think he proved himself enough to be in Formula One. He did tremendous for the little amount of time that he got to get in the car.
But you can't hold the time against him.
No, I think he would have beaten Yuki Tsunoda, if I'm going to be honest, if he had the entire season. If they would have given that seat to Liam Lawson instead of Nick DeVries, I think Liam Lawson would have beaten Yuki Tsunoda.
Interesting point. Do you think he would do any better on another team?
Yes.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Okay.
And I just placed him 16 because he only had 5 races.
But like I said, you can't hold in time against him. Who's next?
Daniel Ricciardo.
Another guy that did not have a whole lot of time.
He did not have a whole lot of time. He replaced Nick DeVries, and then in Zandvoort, he broke his wrist.
Yeah, he did.
Poor Danny. He came back by the United States Grand Prix, and he had a tremendous race in Mexico. The fact that he outperformed Checo in qualifying is really interesting because he's a fucking Aston Martin. He's in a fucking AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
Not a great car.
No, one of the worst cars on the grid. Probably the worst.
No, it's not the worst. But it's definitely got better towards the end when they started adding more upgrades to it.
Yeah.
But I think Daniel Rick is going to be an interesting driver to keep tabs on. He was definitely better than when he was in McLaren.
Yeah. I remember talking about when he was in McLaren and we were like, he's got to go and all that kind of...
I thought he was washed.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go on to number 14. And this is where I put Lance Stroll.
Okay.
He had a good few races at the beginning of the season.
I just don't like him.
I don't like him either. But he had a few good races at the beginning of the year. We gave him the benefit of the doubt because he broke his wrist. And we were like, Jesus Christ, you're performing really well for a guy with a broken wrist.
Yeah.
But he's been downhill ever since. Uphill, as you like to call it.
So, and I think I asked you this question earlier as well about him, but do you think he would be any better on any other team? No.
No, because you had a car that was the second best car during the first 6-7 races, and he didn't benefit from it.
He was all the way in the back while Fernando Alonso was in the front.
While Fernando was getting podiums.
Yeah.
while Fernando was beating Checo Perez.
The only reason he has a spot is because his daddy owns the team.
Quite literally, there was rumors that he was going to give up Formula One for tennis.
I put him so low because there's no excuse for it. Because you saw how good the Aston Martin was early on, but he was so far back he couldn't drive a good car.
The reason I didn't put him all the way in the back was because by the time
he did get points.
Yeah, by the time the season was coming to a close, he was getting points. But at that point, Fernando had just killed. And then I'm like, well, you finally turned on the fucking lights right when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. So, well, who's next?
All right, so he was 14, number 13. Can you guess who number 13 is?
Let me try to guess for a second. Checo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. Unlucky number 13, Checo Perez. Oh boy, it hurts me to say this, but how many Vamos Checos did we get in after Miami?
Not very many at all.
Not very many. It basically was us just saying, we want to say, Vamos Checo.
We're not going to say it, though.
We couldn't say it.
He doesn't deserve it.
He doesn't. And by the time that he finally turned the lights on, fuck it.
Last race? Last two races?
Last 3 races.
Yeah. The damage has already been done. And he had a very impressive start to the beginning of the year.
Yes, we thought he was going to be a contender for the championship against Max. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be good. If Checo can keep it up, fucking hell, it's going to be the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. And he bombed ever since.
So let me ask you this. We've seen him perform on other teams. Do you think he would be any better on another team?
No, because this is the best car on the grid. There's no ifs and buts about it. The Red Bull, the RB19 is the best car on that grid. It is the fastest car.
Yeah.
And when in the hands of a driver who can unlock its full potential, such as Max Verstappen, it's unbeatable. Except in Singapore.
Yeah. Except for Singapore. We don't talk about Singapore.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. But there's no excuse for what Checo underperformed. So he's got to be 13 because he's unlucky.
Yeah.
He kept his seat in Red Bull, but his contract's up next year, man. I don't think they're going to re-sign him.
I don't think they should, even if they had the opportunity to. Depending on how he performs this year, of course.
Next year.
Next year, yeah.
He's got to win the world championship for me to be convinced.
Really?
Yes.
I think he's got to split it down the middle, and Max can win just barely, but
Well, let's go to number 12. Esteban Ocon, or as he likes to call himself, Esty Bestie.
Esty Bestie. Now, Esteban had pretty decent year.
He had a decent year, but here's the thing. Just like the Alpine car, it's neither good nor is it bad. It's just in the middle. It's just literally the middle of the grid.
If I got a 12-year-old kid to design me, no, I shouldn't say that. If I got a 12-year-old kid to draw me a Formula One car, just the most average Formula One car out there, it would be Alpine.
It would be. And Esteban Ocon, he had his moments. He got a podium in Monaco?
I think it was Monaco.
Monaco, yeah. Which was pretty good, luckily for him.
It's a tough track.
It's a tough track, but at the same time, it's tough to pass. So,
yeah.
Honestly, he's just not, he's like in the between. That's why I put him at number 12. He's in between. At number 11 is his partner, Pierre Gasly. Pierre, he had a podium in Sandboard. That's pretty much it.
We didn't hear much from him after that.
Well, except when they crashed in Australia.
Oh, yeah. That was fun. Now, I disagree with you on this. I would switch them around.
Would you now?
I would, personally.
I think it's just because I've seen Formula One long enough to not like Esteban Ocon that I'm kind of...
It probably is.
I just don't like him.
Yeah, and I don't really understand the reasons why you don't like him because I haven't had as much exposure to him.
Remember when oh wait, you weren't there when he crashed in on his teammate Fernando Alonso. Wait, you were. That was last year.
Oh yeah, that was him.
That was him. He did the same thing to Checo.
Okay. Never mind. I switch him back.
he did the same. He got in. He tried to unlap himself in Brazil in 2017, 2018, and he ended up hitting Max, who was in the lead. And it got a little bit physical, but you don't cut off Max.
No, you don't do that.
Number 10, George Russell.
Not a bad year, but he's George Russell.
But not a good year.
Not a good year, especially for the car that he was in.
That is true, but there were signs of performance. By the end of the season, it was the second best car at times. He bungled it in Singapore.
Yeah.
That's a podium that he threw away, and he tried to go after Lando Norris for so long that by the time that he crashed out and Lewis Hamilton got a chance at him, Lewis couldn't do anything because it was just too close to the end of the race. I think if they would have switched spots as soon as they realized, George, you can't do it, next straight you let Lewis pass him, I think that Lewis, with his experience, he would have passed Lando and gone for P2. He wouldn't have gotten past Carlos Sainz. I think Carlos would have made it difficult, but I think he would have gotten Lando Norris.
Yeah.
And just because of the way the season's gone, last year he had an advantage over Lewis, but from what I heard, Lewis was trying radical approaches to the car to see what works and what doesn't to make it work. Meanwhile, George got the safe setup because Lewis wanted to sacrifice himself and figure out, oh, okay, what can I do to fix this fucking piece of shit?
But at the end of last year, we were talking about how good he was and how potentially
And
this year, he went down.
Exactly. So I think 10, it's not bad. It's not good. You're just in the middle. I think that's perfect for Mr. George Russell.
You think George Russell works on any other team?
He worked with Williams.
He did.
P2. Even though it kind of rained out and they didn't have a Grand Prix, he was still P2.
He was there.
Exactly. So that's what I give Mr. George Russell, P2.
Who's number 9?
I mean, P10. Number 9, Oscar Piastri.
That's a fair placement.
Now, the reason why I put him so low is because there were points where he wasn't doing his best. Granted, for the first half of the season, it was the car's fault.
But there were moments where he was doing better than Lando.
Even though it was a sprint race, he still won that sprint race, and Lando hasn't won jack shit. So I do place him at number 9 because there were also moments where he could have done better against the likes of Max Verstappen, but he has a tendency, and it's because he's young, he's still trying to figure this out, but he has a tendency to cook his tires early on because he pushes them too far. So I think that subtracts and kind of negates the good stuff. But overall, he's number 9, but I think he's somebody you should look out for because I think he's a world championship material. And if McLaren can get the car right next year and be even faster, I think we might be seeing Oscar go for wins.
I think we could. And I'm not going to even ask if he would work with any other team because I think the pairing of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri is a good pairing.
It is.
I think that's a good team. So I'm very excited to see what both of them will do next year, especially for me, Lando.
Number 8, Lewis Hamilton.
Wow. This low?
Part of it is the car performance, just like George Russell. Part of it is also how much of an insufferable prick he was in
You just
Austria.
don't like him.
No, look, I like certain parts of Lewis.
No, Lewis is your Patrick Mahomes. Admit it.
He is. But I cannot deny that he had good races. The problem was he was held back by the car. If he had a better car, if he had McLaren's car, I would probably end up saying number 3 or number 2. But overall, just because of the car, I have to bring him down because he wasn't of importance for most of the season because the car wasn't.
See, I'm going to disagree with you here. My personal number 8 is Charles Leclerc. And that's not it's not as much being taken away from Charles Leclerc, but it's more of the strategy of the team. And, we have the segment Ferraris and fuck ups.
That is true.
It's, and the integrity of that car is always in question. We always get excited. Oh, they're going to have a great car this year. And then shit hits the fan and turns out they don't really have a very good car. So Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, is going to be further up this list for me. I think between Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, Carlos is the better driver.
For this season or overall?
No. For this season.
Okay, I would
Let
have
me make that clear.
I would have to agree with you. And for me, Charles Leclerc isn't that high up compared to Carlos. So I agree, but I still have to put number 8 as Lewis Hamilton. I know I've seen what Lewis can do, and at times I feel that because the car wasn't optimal enough, when he starts complaining, it drags him and his performance down.
Yeah.
So I just have to say that just because of the car, not just the car, but just when he gets in that mindset, he becomes Patrick Mahomes.
But on level ground, would you say that Lewis Hamilton had a better season than Charles Leclerc?
I don't know. I need to look at the numbers again.
Tough to say.
It's tough to say because, we'll
That's why my number 7 would be Lewis Hamilton. Yeah.
And so at number 7, I would have to say, and even though you and I talked about it, and I don't remember if we put it in originally in the original recording, originally was Charles Leclerc. We forgot about Yuki.
Everyone forgets about Yuki.
To be fair to Yuki, he does deserve the number 7 spot because against all odds, he did put in quite a few numbers towards the end of the season, and he was outscoring Nick DeVries, Liam Lawson, and Daniel Ricciardo. But it wasn't completely easy, and I did say that Daniel would be given an entire season, but he didn't get an entire season. And even though he's a little bit forgotten, and we probably should have put him a little bit lower, number 7 is Mr. Yuki Tsunoda. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said, I think he should have been a little bit lower, but
We forgot.
we did forget him. And we'll stick him in right here because we like Yuki. There's nothing wrong with him. He's like that quiet kid in the friend group that everybody just kind of forgets about.
Even though he's an angry little man.
Even though he's an angry little Japanese man. Do you think he would do well on any other team?
I think he would, and there are rumors that he's probably going to go to Aston Martin when they get that Honda deal in 2026.
Ooh. That would be a good deal right there.
Imagine him and Fernando.
That would be a good trade-off from Lance Stroll. Take a stroll.
But right, number 6, Mr. Charles Leclerc. He was like Yuki, forgettable for most of the season, if we're going to be honest.
Well, I couldn't forget about him because we were always talking about how bad things were going for him.
At one point, it just got so bad that Matt Gallagher of P1 with Matt and Tommy, people would tune in to the Twitch live stream that they would do whenever they were watching the race just to see his reactions to Ferrari either fucking up or Charles getting bad luck. Sometimes by his own making, a lot of times by the team's making.
He's not perfect, but that team is really far from perfect. And I mean,
Brazil, where he didn't even get to the starting line. The car, because a lot of people thought, well, what the fuck did Charles do to literally lose the car? Turns out after an investigation, it was the car, the piece of shit car, Ferrari. Yeah, we fucked up again.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. Didn't it come out with like 3 wheels again this year?
It's something like that.
Sandboard.
No, didn't they have a slow pit this year?
Which one?
Well, it probably happened a couple times this year. But didn't they have one of those pits where they couldn't get the tire off this year?
I think it was Carlos.
Oh, that might have been Carlos, yeah.
Ferrari fucks Ferrari.
Ferrari fucks Ferrari.
But yeah.
I got to learn how to say that in Italian. And so then I can make it a little bit more fun.
Probably the same thing.
Ferrari, you fucking Ferrari. You're breaking my heart here.
You're breaking my heart, Ferrari. You're breaking my heart.
Well, let's move on to number 5.
Lando Norris.
Oh, okay.
Part of it's not his fault because they had a shit box at the beginning of the season. The turnaround was fucking amazing. But he did better than Oscar Piastri. He got a little bit more in the podiums. Oscar did get that win, even though it was a sprint, when he did get that win over Lando Norris. And I think that's going to irk him. And I think he's going to come back with a fucking vengeance next year. And he's going to if this car is close enough to the Red Bulls, I'll yeet Max Verstappen off this road so I can take victory.
No, I'm not going to even bother asking the question because I feel like this is the place for Lando Norris.
It is
on McLaren. I mean, he works well with the car. It's just a matter of getting the little things fixed.
He's kind of rebuilt that team since their last shot at trying to make it big, which was with Fernando Alonso and Honda, which used to be a big pairing. I mean, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost were in McLaren, and they were the two most fierce drivers of their time. So they have history. They have the ability to win. It's just they kind of put their eggs in the wrong basket at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But hey, if they can keep it up, Red Bull, watch out. Now, at number, what are we, 5?
4.
4.
Yes.
At number 4 would have to be Alex Albon. $30 million Alex Albon. Do you know why they call him that?
Because he cost them $30 million in damages.
I said Alex Albon, not Nick DeVries. Sorry, it should have been Nicholas Latifi.
Oh, that's a low blow.
Well,
there's a name we haven't heard on the show in a while.
He hasn't raced there.
Exactly.
No, but Alex has been carrying that team. He did all the heavy lifting, and he got him P7 in the constructor standings. A lot of people did not expect them to do that good, and they estimated that per every spot is $10 million more from the base percentage they get. So 10 million more, that's $30 million. That's how much he's worth to Williams. And the thing is, does he want to stay at Williams for the long run? Because his contract is coming up and a lot of teams want to get him. Rumor is they want to, as soon as Carlos signs his contract is up, they want to sign up Alex Albon, which is a great deal. But does he want to leave? Because he was at Red Bull first and he did crash and burn alongside Max Verstappen.
Does Red Bull believe in second chances?
It depends on Mr. Checo Perez and Mr. Daniel Ricciardo.
That's true. I forgot Daniel Ricciardo was in the mix. I'm not going to throw Alex Albon in it anymore.
Well, he's not even a Red Bull driver anymore. They let him go.
Right.
But I think he deserves that number 4 spot. Everything he did with that shit box is incredible. And I think that him and James Vowles are going to make a tremendous team. And I don't know if they're ever going to win a world championship. I really don't think they will. Not in Alex's Formula One lifetime, but I think he's going to get close. And I think he might get a race victory if everything goes right.
I hope so.
Now, at number 3 is Mr. Carlos Sainz, the man who beat Red Bull's and most importantly, Max Verstappen's dominance in Singapore with a race victory and an amazing strategic mind in giving the DRS to Lando so he could outrun George Russell and outrun Lewis Hamilton at the end.
Smooth operator.
He is a smooth operator.
He is the smooth operator. I agree 100% with this. I mean, he doesn't get talked about enough, but he is one of the better drivers on the grid.
Last year he struggled a little bit, but it was his first year at Ferrari.
Yeah.
You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. This year he definitely turned it on when he needed to. Now, some people say Charles could have won that race in Singapore, but Ferrari fucked him.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I've noticed. Carlos is the one who usually says, no, let's try something else. I want to do something else. I'm going to do something else. That's Carlos. Charles kind of takes it. He's kind of like the person who's being abused in an abusive relationship. He just takes it.
Well, I think that's because he's younger.
That is true.
But I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. But eventually, Charles has to get to the point where he's like, all right, I'm going to do this.
Carlos has more experience than him. He raced at Toro Rosso alongside Max Verstappen and Daniel Kvyat for a bit. And then he raced at McLaren and he had Lando as his teammate.
Huh.
And Lando got close to that victory in Sochi, Russia. So
when was this?
2021.
Okay.
He fucked that up. He stayed out on the dry tires when it rained. Lewis pitted. He didn't want to pit. Flipped around. Ended up, I think, P10.
Damn.
Yeah. So Carlos got a little bit more experience, more podiums. I think he deserves that number 3 spot, and you agree. So number 2 has got to go to our favorite Spaniard and the person who I kind of shitted on and compared him to Aaron Rodgers, and I was wrong.
And he's not dating Taylor Swift anymore. That is confirmed.
Well, I don't know. She's going to Spain in a few weeks, so you might go, hey, Travis is playing a game.
This is
You know,
not-
you want to,
Not dating, but maybe, seeing a little something on the side.
Yeah, I mean, she loves a little Spaniard, man.
Fernando Alonso.
He deserves that spot. He carried that fucking Aston Martin when Lance Stroll couldn't, and towards the end, poor Fernando. I remember how at the beginning of the year he goes, I love this car.
And towards the end of the year, he says, I hate this fucking car.
God damn it. He almost said, people wanted him to say it not in Singapore, in Brazil. This is a GP2 engine or a Formula 2 engine.
Well, cut him some slack, Fernando. I mean, not everything can age as brilliantly as you do.
Yeah. Hopefully Aston Martin fixes their shit, but for the meantime, Fernando gets in the number 2 spot. And of course, the number 1 spot has got to go to Mr. Max Verstappen. Max
Verstappen.
Max Verstappen.
I mean, what more can you say?
19 race victories.
Yep.
How many fastest laps, podiums, how many records, over 1,000 laps led in a single season. He beat a record that hasn't been beat since 1960 something.
Wasn't it 11 straight wins?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was off the charts year. Nobody else is even remotely
thought
on
Checo.
his level. We thought Checo could keep up. Checo apparently could not keep up, but
And I know people are getting tired of it, but this is Max Verstappen's dominance, and based on Checo's performance, you cannot say that it's just the car. It's the driver.
this was his third NBA Finals if he was Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't go for 7 in a row.
Oh,
But that was our review of the Formula One drivers. Now, very quickly, we're going to do the teams. I think we can agree. Number 10, Alfa Romeo.
yeah.
Number 9, Haas. I want to put at number 8, AlphaTauri. Number 7, I would have to say Williams.
Okay.
Because they did perform great, but a lot of the times you did not see him there.
They're still Williams, and the financial backing is not entirely there yet.
Yet. Or
Yet.
the facility upgrades, they're getting there.
They'll get there, and we'll be able to watch them grow. But as of this year, it wasn't there yet. So we got to keep them at number 7.
At number 6, Alpine. God, that team, it doesn't know what it wants to do. At number 5, yeah, we're at number 5. I would have to say Mercedes. That fucking car, they kept to that fucking concept again, the zero side pod concept, and they had to change it out before halfway through the season because it wasn't working.
Oh yeah.
They normally do good, but this year they fucked up. They fumbled it. They started to get their groove towards the end, but by then it was just too late. It was Max.
And we've seen them build fantastic cars. They've built some of the best cars
Ever.
ever.
In Formula One.
Yeah.
So we're harsh on them, but they're harsher on themselves.
Oh yeah.
At number 4, Aston Martin. Phenomenal start to the year.
Yeah.
Exactly. Part of it is because of Lance Stroll. They could have kept that P4 in the Constructors' Championship very easily if they hadn't done that. So, which is funny because we put in P4.
Yeah.
So at number 3, I would have to say McLaren.
They're on the rise.
They're on the rise. They're a team to look out for.
Yes.
And they fucked up again at the beginning, but they fixed it towards the middle of the race. All right, to the middle of the season. So hats off to them. They did great there. But I think they would have gotten that number 2 spot if they would have gotten it right from the get-go.
Yeah. I think so.
Number 2, Ferrari, only race victory. As much as we don't like to say it, they did good despite Ferrari.
Despite everything else going on?
Yeah, despite Ferrari being Ferrari.
Yeah.
Charles should have won that position and gotten that victory, that podium, that P2 that they needed to. Well, they did get P2, but he needed to get ahead of George Russell. And I think if they hadn't taken that penalty in Vegas, then Carlos could have gotten some points that they needed for Abu Dhabi. So I put him at number 2. Number 1, Red Bull Racing. I don't even have to explain at this point.
It's Red Bull. But no, I think Ferrari, ultimately, they have to get their strategy figured out, and they have to figure out how to make engines last the whole season.
Well, they lasted this season.
They lasted this season, and now they have to figure out their strategy.
Which is the issue.
The biggest issue.
And communication.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're checking. Let me come back to you on that.
And sometimes it's like, just shut up. Wasn't there one time this year that Carlos literally asked them like to stop using the radio, please?
Ooh, I think so. I can't remember because it's not Singapore. Because he was telling them how far behind is Lando. I'm gonna give him the tug. So yeah, Ferrari just needs to fix it up, and that's the conclusion to the F1 review. It's longer than last week's episode. So
how long is it?
So far we're at 45 minutes, but I could probably trim down.
Oh, there you go.
A good 10 minutes, give or take.
Take as much off as you need.
Well, that was
the episode, I mean.
Yeah. Well, that's our Christmas special, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying a fine Christmas. What the fuck do people eat on Christmas?
Well, they eat, ham and maybe some Chinese food if you're like that. And this would be a time for your people to eat the tacos and all that kind of stuff.
What you talking about? We eat the Chinese food. It's our
y'all eat the Chinese food?
You can never go wrong with Chinese food on Christmas Day.
Oh, never. But then you drink the eggnog and you drink your beer. You drink your whiskey. You drink your Fireball, all that kind of stuff.
And then while intoxicated, you make out with your cousin under the mistletoe.
Or maybe you mistake grandma for the dog.
Why grandma just begin with?
Hold the head. This isn't a dog.
Oh, we just broke grandma's hip. She hadn't had some action in a few 30 years.
But she appreciated it. Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Well, we hope you're enjoying your Christmas. We hope you're listening to this Christmas afternoon, evening, whatever the fuck people do on Christmas. Well, sign us off, white boy, because right now we're probably eating tamales, which is what we're going to have for Christmas. And you are probably going to be eating dry-ass ham.
We'll see.
With your
I might be getting Chinese food. Or Wendy's. Did I tell you that story a couple years ago?
Yes. Yeah, you and your brother ended up getting Wendy's because your parents...
Great decision, by the way.
Didn't want to, make actual food. What was it, soups and salads again?
Something like that. But getting Wendy's for Christmas was a great fucking decision.
That's the only thing you could afford.
Oh, yeah.
And that was open.
But it's Wendy's.
It's great.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Waterboy Experience. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on TikTok or on Instagram, all at the Waterboy Pod. Stay tuned for potentially next week for the next episode. And we hope you have a Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Waterboy Experience. And I'm going to go roast my chestnuts on an open fire.
Feliz Navidad.
Second and goal just outside the 10. Carr tips it in there. It's Waller. He spins into the end zone for the touchdown. You're watching greatness on one end. In LeBron, there's a dude with 35 in white getting it done defensively and then offense taking over the fight.